Welcome back. So one career video that I get requested a lot and have for years is Kevin Bieksa. I could do a Kevin Bieksa career video today because he officially retired as a Canuck yesterday. There were questions about why hadn't he officially retired. Well, it's officially been done. So Kevin Bieksa, a player who was not expected to have a long career, was not a highly thought of prospect, a number 151 pick in 2001, and he proved any and all naysayers wrong when he did eventually make it to the Vancouver Canucks. Now he makes it in 0506, but before he gets there, he is part of a what's become a folktale for Vancouver fans. So Fedorov, a young prospect with the Vancouver Canucks, who was the brother of Sergei Fedorov, no pressure, right? Down in Manitoba playing with the Moose. Now, eventually, as I remember it, Fedorov got tired of not getting an opportunity. Brian Burke seemed to get tired of Fedorov, and so the two parted ways, the team and the player. Now, Fedorov, clearly you can tell Burke wasn't a fan of his because he starts telling this story about Kevin Bieksa beating up Fedorov. Now, when Bieksa tells the story, there's actually some more to this. Kirill Koltsov was part of it as well, and apparently Koltsov keeps like leg kicking him, and so Bieksa's kind of fighting off two guys here. But what happens is it's at the parking lot at Earl's in Winnipeg. Now, I really, in my wildest dreams, and it just shows how weird my dreams would get, uh, you would have like some kind of a marker at that spot in the parking lot where Fedorov got dropped by Kevin Bieksa to say this is where Fedorov fell down. Now, afterwards, Dallas Aikens, who was the AHL coach, basically told Bieksa and Fedorov to not tell the press, don't tell anybody. Just, this, you guys didn't have a fight, didn't happen. And according to Bieksa, he had a good friendship with Fedor before that and after as well. But Burke told the story. He told the story a lot, and he basically said that it was one shot that dropped Fedorov. Now, again, in Bieksa's retelling, Fedorov catches him with one first, which gave him a black eye, and then Bieksa did finish the job in pretty substantial fashion, to where when Koltsov was asked about it, he said that Bieksa beat both of them up, even though Bieksa didn't throw a punch at Koltsov. So it is an interesting story before he's even in a Vancouver Canucks jersey. 0506, he plays for the Canucks in 39 games. He gets 6 assists. But there's not an expectation of offense from him. And there's a discussion of whether or not the Canucks need another offensive defenseman. I remember in the 06 offseason, people saying, well, Bieksa can't be in the top 6. If the Canucks are going to have a good defense, tell me if you've heard this before about the Canucks defense. It needs better depth. Bieksa shouldn't be in the top 6. I look at where Kyle Burroughs is right now in the Vancouver defense chart, and it's a similar argument of, well, and I'm not saying Burroughs is going to be Bieksa, but it's a similar argument that's gone through Canuck circles dating back to Burke's era. I mean, really, it's Nonis's era as well. I remember the deadline where Nonis decided to go out and get a bunch of defensemen. Didn't work out. But yeah, so 06, 07, Bieksa plays almost every game, 81 games, but the offense was remarkable. 12 goals, 30 assists, and 42 points. Now, for me, as a fan of a player who puts in effort on every shift, never outworked, players willing to hit, players willing to fight, loved Bieksa. Played 9 playoff games that year as well. No points there, but it's not about points with Bieksa. Now, 07-08, he only played 34 games that year, had 2 goals, 10 assists, 12 points. Ugly calf laceration cost him most of the season. So that's tough, right? And of course, when you're out of the lineup and you're a younger player, you're worried about losing your spot. Bieksa doesn't lose the spot, though. 08-09, he comes back with a vengeance. 72 games played, 11 goals, 32 assists, 43 points. The physicality, the fighting, all that's great, makes him a fan favorite. But the fact that he can score points too, nothing short of remarkable. Plays 10 playoff games and records 5 assists. 2009-2010, this time he has a leg laceration. So, yeah, he needed his legs protected there. Needed Koltsov to, fight guys off. 55 games played that year, 3 goals, 19 assists, 22 points. So the offense drops off, but again, he had the leg laceration that cost him a lot of games. In the playoffs, the offense picks up 3 goals, 5 assists for 8 points in 12 games. So this is a Vancouver team that loses in 09 and 2010 to the hated Chicago Blackhawks. 2010-2011, he only played 66 games. He dealt with a broken left foot that year. 6 goals, 16 assists, 22 points in the games he played. And then in the playoffs, it's all the way to the Stanley Cup final. 25 games, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points. Now, if you're a hockey fan, you've seen the goal, right? With Kevin Bieksa, it's the most famous moment for him. It is one of the most famous moments in the history of the Vancouver Canucks franchise. May 24th of 2011, he scores at 10:18 of the second overtime to eliminate the San Jose Sharks and push the Vancouver Canucks into the Stanley Cup final against the Boston Bruins. So it's a big goal. It's a kind of out of nowhere goal, and I remember the celebration that I experienced with that. It was a great moment, you know. For Vancouver, they were going into the Stanley Cup final, and I remember dancing around saying a team I cheer for is going to win the Stanley Cup when Boston was joining them there. But yeah, that was an amazing run. Sadly for Canuck fans, of course, it does not result in a Stanley Cup win. But no fault was ever thrown on Bieksa. While I heard plenty of blame being thrown at Luongos, Sedins, and various other players, I don't remember ever hearing anybody blame Bieksa for the fact the Canucks didn't win that 7th game in 2011. 2011-2012 played 78 games, so a healthier season for him. 8 goals, 36 assists, 44 points. He adds a goal in 5 playoff games. Of course, Vancouver in the 2012 playoffs were upset in the first round by the LA Kings. 2012-2013 plays 36 games, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points. And in the playoffs, he records a goal in 4 games. 2013-2014 is now the Canucks are getting further away from contention. Problems with Vancouver and Tortorella coming in. I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not. It's something that necessarily helped. 76 games played in 2013-2014, 4 goals, 20 assists, 24 points. So Bieksa's numbers are still good. Not where they were earlier, but I mean he's been through a lot at this point. A lot of injuries. 2014-2015 he had a broken hand. So he played 60 games with Vancouver, 4 goals, 10 assists, 14 points, and as I said, missed some games due to that broken hand. In the playoffs, Canucks get back to the playoffs, no points in 6 games. So June 13th, the Vancouver Canucks trade him to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a 2016 second-round pick. And it's a trade that Canuck fans didn't like, and I know I remember I didn't like it much either because to me, Bieksa was meant to retire as a Canuck, and he did yesterday. But it was one of those things that, you know, for the Vancouver Canucks, they've been really dealing with salary cap issues dating back to that Stanley Cup final run. I remember the Canucks having to bring players up and put them down just to stay around the cap, just to make sure they're under the cap for that day, having to demote somebody, bring somebody up. So with Anaheim in 2015-2016, 71 games, 4 goals, 11 assists, 15 points, and in the playoffs, he adds an assist in 6 games. 2016-2017, 81 games played, so at least he played almost all the games. 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points. He adds 4 assists in 8 playoff games. So good run there for Bieksa, right? Still physical, still willing to drop the gloves if he needs to. 2017-2018, his season's limited due to a hand injury. 59 games, 8 assists for him that year. So no goals for the first time since his rookie season. In the playoffs, he only plays 1 game, no points in that game, and that would prove to be the end of his career. 808 games played, 63 goals, 215 assists for 278 points. In the playoffs, 86 games played, 10 goals, 20 assists, 30 points. He also retires with 1,251 hits. That's a lot of hits. 912 blocked shots. So good, solid defensive defenseman, which is important because when the offense isn't where it was earlier in your career, you can still find a job in the NHL if you hit and block shots and if you're not caught out of position too often. Of course, now he is well known for being on Sportsnet, for being having his opinions and being willing to say things and challenge everybody else on the panel if he needs to about something. And I think he's viewed as being very honest, and I haven't really seen any complaints about Bieksa as a commentator. I think he's fair. He admits his biases when they're there. I think he tells a good story. The story of him and the fight with Fedorov, if you do a search for Kevin Bieksa fights, one of the first videos that comes up is Sportsnet, where he talked about it. But yeah, I mean, very entertaining guy, seemed like a really good guy. So of course I'm going to put him in the THG Hall of Fame because it's kind of where he belongs. I don't think I have a lot of defensemen in that Hall of Fame, so I might as well throw them in. And yeah, there's a lot of Canucks. Because again, the THG Hall of Fame is about players that I've watched throughout their careers and I admired. And Bieksa is one of those guys I admired throughout. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support, and anytime you feel like giving up on something, just think of Kevin Bieksa. He fought his way through, and he realized his NHL dream when not very many people gave him that chance before 05-06. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.